Okay, we have went through essentially everything at this point except how to build it. The kit is really basic in terms of build process. No crazy stuff. Okay, so first thing, we're gonna grab the cross member, is what we're calling it. Shock towers are gonna be facing essentially the front of the truck. The first initial time you get these on is really tough. Get it on one rail only and just start to shimmy it. Not crazy, don't break it. Basically just shimmy it until it won't go on without putting excessive force, and then back it off. And you're gonna repeat with the other side. I made these openings a little bit larger initially, and it just got too loose too quick, so had to fix that. So that one's already sliding pretty good, so slide it on both sides now. And if it doesn't want to go on, it's probably because you can't slide it on at an angle. It's not going to go on like this. It needs to go on flat. It's on there, and then like I said, we're just going to essentially just shimmy it. Just shimmy until it gets on there. Be careful, don't put your thumb right here over the frame rail, because when it does pop through, it does hurt. And notice how I got one side through, but this side doesn't want to come. So just basically back that off and shimmy the other side. And now it's going on. So that's on there now. And if you want to work it back and forth a couple times just to get it, it's already pretty freaking good. You don't want to obviously have it too loose. So M2.5 screws are going to go right here, which come in your kit. The M2.5 screw, I'm not sure what head this is, but I know you guys are capable of figuring that out. So I have an electric one, but on these ones, I don't use it. I just go by hand, and I think I've stripped these out enough to the point where I understand it doesn't need to be super tight. As soon as it hits that frame, it's pretty much locked into place, and you'll know when it hits the frame because it's just gonna dead stop, which it's getting close. It's just going to stop. It won't allow me to continue to spin, which is basically right there. Not super crazy. You didn't see me yank that thing, but also not tiptoeing around. So I don't know if that's the right spot for now. I'm just gonna set that in there so I can start putting on the control arms. With all these things, make sure you're going in flush. Because this is my kit, I'm pretty confident that I'm going in flush. See how my hand just stopped screwing it in. But we're gonna start there. So the cross member, we'll worry about the magnets that you guys get with this kit in a little bit. But you get a number of magnets. I can't remember the amount, but you get some shim magnets, just skinnier 10mm magnets, and then you get these bigger. They're 3mm thick by 10mm wide. These ones are mine, that's why they're used. You're getting brand new ones. Okay, step 2 is we're going to find our lower control arms, which the lower control arms can be identified because they have holes in them, and that's the lower shock mount. So the holes will be facing out as such. We're going to use the bottom holes to start, and then you guys can adjust from there. If you want to run any of the bodies that I have, you're going to be able to essentially keep this set up the way it is. If you want to put your own body on it, you're going to have to figure it out for yourself. I'm sorry, I can't help you. These are going to be one of the very few 10mm screws that you're going to need in the kit. So basically 1, 2, 3, 4 for the 4 control arms, and that'll get that done. Get it threaded, and you can go to town on these ones. The only thing you have to worry about is don't go too tight, because you will smush This is only 2.5 millimeters roughly. It's a little bit thicker than that. So you will smush that if you do go in too hard. So I put this, obviously the screw going in this way for the shock mounts to be right here. So that means it needs to go on this side. And when you screw these in, make sure you're watching essentially that the screw is going into the hole, because what will happen is if you're not going in straight, you're gonna hit not the hole and you're gonna start pushing this and break it. These things are pretty strong and they'll bend, but I mean, if you get a whole 10 millimeter screw through there, it's not gonna fly. So just make sure you're keeping that little gap parallel, and just like that. And it doesn't need to be super tight. What you're looking for here is that you don't have a bunch of movement. When I say movement, I mean side to side, like it's not going like this. There's gonna be a little bit of play, but you probably won't even be able to see it. You'll just feel it. Like I can feel it, but I can't see it. And I mean, this thing is moving. So that's a good way to do it. So I'm gonna fast forward through this. This solid one with the holes is the lower control arm. The one that is embossed or open, see-through, essentially, is the upper control arm. Upper control arm counts 6 holes from the bottom hole. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or the third hole down. So that's where the uppers are gonna go. Another thing to note is go slow. These are such tiny pieces that you could split them if you go in at the wrong angle. I am here if it does happen, so I'm gonna try these low-C micro B shocks with the same helper spring, we're calling it, or a dual rate spring inside that I pulled from these shocks. So basically any size will do, and you can take the heavier copper spring or the light silver spring, or even the lightest black spring. I use the silver, the medium spring, excuse me. And that feels good. And then I use the light spring for the rear. Get that front end, make it look like it's doing a wheelie. A wheelie. All right. One thing that I forgot to mention, and I did it off camera, was just get some bearings in there really quick, just so it's not harder later. One thing, it really just depends on the print, but if your bearing struggles to go in on this back side of your steering knuckle, what I recommend doing is just grabbing your tool. I'll just put another bearing in. Oh, it just slides in too easy. So you might not struggle with this, but just tip and trick. Put the bearing in it so it's basically resting. It doesn't even have to be flush, as long as it's not at some crazy angle. And then use your tool and your thumb and just press onto it. And if you have to, put it down and press the bearing in. This side has always been relatively easy. So, the steering knuckle mounts to the control arm brackets. So these were 8 millimeter screws, and these were 5 millimeter screws. You can use 5.5, you can use 6. You can also use 8, but you're gonna get a little bit more play in the control arm bracket. So these horns should be facing the back way. So if you can't get it on to the horn of the knuckle facing the back way for the steering, then it's on the wrong side. It's on the wrong one. So the other one for this side. And also, this is essentially the top. The tie rod's gonna connect to the bottom of this. I use hole number 2, the one that's on this side of the face, the outside face of the knuckle. to get more camber. And on this, you want to leave just a little space. So that's maybe too much. That's perfect. Just a little space. A little bit of wiggle room so we don't rip anything apart. The bottom side only has one opening. Can't adjust. Working on adjusting caster, but just a little bit more stuff involved with that. And you don't need it. Drifts fine. So another thing too with these, the reason why you don't want to use any larger screws is this might hit that screw and then not turn. So make sure that this is able to spin freely in there, which it's spinning pretty freely in there. Okay, that's one. And you can leave this axle stub in there. If it falls out, it's annoying. You just put it in later, it just slides right in. We don't have to worry about it. But just make sure you get the bearings in there for now. So we want to make sure everything's rotating free. And then we can just throw these axle stubs in there. And if they fall out, what you can do is just thread the nuts onto them for the meantime, so you don't get super frustrated if they keep falling out, because they will continue to fall out. So that's where we're at. Take the time to explain something really quick. If I didn't already in this video, you're gonna notice that when you're turning with this kit, that if you're making a left turn, the left wheel is gonna have a greater angle than your right wheel. That is called Ackerman angle. It's positive Ackerman. It's a key element to drifting, and it is okay. It is okay. Let it ride. Let it ride. Okay. So, next thing. Ooh, freedom. Just one chance. One chance to fight. Braveheart. Let's go, man. That's where the name comes from, just so everybody knows too. So when you think of freedom, I want you to scream it like frickin' Mel Gibson storming the British. Okay, so this is the battery tray. I kind of just threw it down in there. You're gonna utilize the stock skid steering, or excuse me, link mount opening thing, whatever you call those. You're gonna use that. And then you're going to use the opening for what was a body mount, or like the battery mount or something like that. There's a tray right there. You're going to use that to screw that in. It doesn't matter. Basically what I would do is I recommend using the small screw you can, which is going to be like a 3.6. I gave you guys 5s. So throw in the 5. If one day you accidentally go in ham and you screw up and you overdo it, just go ahead and basically grab a longer screw, because it goes all the way through, and throw that one down in there. So I can't even tell where the hole is on this thing. Cool. So don't go too tight on these initial ones, because you need to get the other sides in. Okay, got it. A little rough. Had to push the frame rail in. So if you're struggling, go ahead and just push the frame rails together with your thumbs like this. That was the issue. It wasn't exactly flat, so. And then no need to over tighten any of this, because it's a non-structural. When I say structural, I mean like the A-arms. Those are structural. They're going to be taking the force of the truck going up and down, hitting stuff. The battery is going to be basically just resting all over this, really sitting on the frame rails, so it's not going to do anything. Let's do top screws first, or excuse me, bottom screws first. We're going to do the bottom screws first, and then we'll do the top ones. Honestly, we're good to go. So side mounts, give you a little spot to put your screwdriver. You're gonna take 8s. You're gonna take these 8s, and you are going to throw them down. You can just poke those through the side, just a little bit out on these ones. On the other ones, you need to leave them recessed or flush at a minimum, and then feed it through. These ones you can poke through. You actually need it to so you can feel if you hit these openings, these holes. So just like, yay, I'm in. Obviously, if you're using a hand one, you're not going to have the sputter. But I'm lazy these days. I'm getting old. So, 21st century's been my friend. And then, so the wife's in there watching The Office. I'm in here shredding with you boys. About to get slickety slideways. It's good stuff. So let's do these. These are the rear shock mounts and the 3-link. And they sit on the frame rail, and then you can just slide them forward. If your motor hits, you're either going to need to chop it or just raise it up a bit or deal with it being at an angle. I'm going to deal with it being at a slight angle. Basically can mount this using the 3.6 millimeter screws, but with anything, I'm just going to use the 5 small, medium, and large smallies. Using the smallies, we're going to throw it down, and it only can mount to this right here. So if you're wondering why one hole isn't there, it's because you're using the wrong holes to mount it. And if it's not going through, stop yourself. You're basically just burning plastic. It'll go in like yay. Yay. Next one. Man, that's tough. I'm not gonna lie, that's gonna be so tough. I'm gonna feel like one of all the lowrider boys with just that matching. Oh, take me to SEMA. Hey, one quick comment. These mirrors, they're probably not gonna make it to your house. And I'm sorry. It is definitely a cool scale look, but they're just not. I broke one of your guys' off with bubble wrap, so hopefully they make it to your house. If not, I just cut them off, and if you got problems, just message me and we'll make it square. But that's the money right there. Okay. Before we do the 3-link, we're gonna do the riser. This is one of the more delicate pieces. I would just take that with a grain of salt and not test your limit. Test your luck. This is super easy. Right, slip it on and screw it in. The I don't know what you want to call this. Basically where it's sticking out, it faces towards the front of the car. So you get 2 different options. For now, I don't. I think 8's gonna be a little long though, don't you think? Nah, it's perfect. 8. 8. Okay, we're approaching the finish line. Hopefully none of that was too difficult. We're going to use, if you're using the 58s for the links, 58.5 is what I'm pointing to. That's what it says. You're gonna want to use the longer link out of the 2 links that I gave you. See, one side on both links, they're both the same. One's just longer. One side has a 2.15 opening, and the other side has a 1.44 opening. So the larger opening is going to go right here, and we're going to brace it right here, and the smaller opening is going to attach to the riser on the axle. So to make our lives easier, we're just going to attach this real quick, and we're going to do that using the last 10 millimeter that came in your kit. So you got 5 in total, so this is the 5th. Same concept, be gentle. Steady, steady, stop. Nice. And same concept here as the control arms. We just want enough play, and we want it to move freely. We have a lot of weight in the rear, so it can drag a little bit and it'll loosen up very quickly. One thing I forgot to mention is it's not supposed to go all the way up, so don't force it to go all the way up. It's basically, we gave it a limit. It's not a limit strap, it's a, I don't even know what you would call that. It's meant to limit the amount of travel that can go down, because if this goes any farther down with the alignment of the drive shaft, you're basically going to blow out your axle. So don't sit there and pry this back. It's not going to go any farther back than that. That's more than enough travel for this truck. What I would recommend doing is basically get these screwed on. You're going to need pliers, 2 sets of pliers. You're going to have to grab one, and I did this off camera already. You're going to grab one and grab the other, and you're just going to basically screw them on until you get the distance that equals to this, which is about roughly 3 millimeters. So you just keep going. I did this with, like I said, the pliers, and I got it all the way in, and then I backed it out, and now I'm getting this part on video for you guys. So basically this is perfect. And I'm gonna shove it through, and then I'm gonna put the other end back on and get it as tight as I can to the 3-link itself, but also understanding that we need a little bit of play. The play that you're leaving here is strictly to allow movement. We don't want any more than just allowing movement of the 3-link. So we're gonna grab 5 millimeter screws and thread this into both sides. If you need to upsize, if you strip it out, you can. 8 millimeter screws though are gonna be too long, and 6 millimeter screws might not help you. So hopefully you don't. What I would do is, if you guys can tell, I'm leaving a tiny gap as I screw it in and then pushing into it. And then once it starts to grab, I'm just gonna try to hold it with my finger, and then that's it. So I'm gonna basically leave the same gap for the other side and then just screw into that. It doesn't have to be super even. The biggest thing that we're looking for here is that this 3-link is parallel with the frame rails, which it definitely is, and that there's not a huge gap right here. The movement when you grab this, the best way to tell is when it's flat, the frame is flat, and you hold the frame, you try to move the axle. That's perfect. That's basically just the frame bending. That's not even necessarily the 3-link. Like, there's a little bit of play from the 3-link, but just enough. It's perfect. to start putting in the electronics, which is really easy. So on the front end, we're gonna loosen these screws, and then we're going to take this off for the time being. And I'm gonna do it by hand because my electric one died. So you don't have to take them all the way out, just back them out to the point where this thing's free. So pull it off. And like I told you guys in the beginning of this video, once you get it on there that first time, it's tough. Once you get it on, it's super easy. So take it off. And what we're gonna do is we're going to feed the servo. The servo gear side is going to go through where you see the, what I'm calling the shock towers. You're gonna feed it through. And it will be flush. That's how you'll know it's in, because it'll be flush on both sides. So it's in there. And then you should be able to see straight through. You can see straight through. And I included some tiny, I think I actually just gave you guys M1.4s for the screw size, but we're going 5 millimeters. I've been talking the length. So I give you guys 5 millimeter screws to, essentially what you're gonna do is go from the back and just tighten that thing in. Perfect. Bottom one. Cool. So now that that's in there, what we're gonna do is grab our servo horn, and the 3-link was probably, it's equally as tough as this in terms of getting it on without breaking stuff. So we are going to use the one on the left, and the best way I can describe it is the one on the left has teeth in it. If you guys can see those little tiny teeth. Press fit still. And this one has no teeth. And it's a little bit smaller. Because I know sometimes these gears can be just, they fluctuate, man. I get same servo and I feel like there's a difference. Maybe I'm just tripping, but. So what I like to do is take the one that we agreed upon, the one with the teeth, and I'm gonna feed this through. And you don't have to do it by hand. It's easier to not do it by hand. But we're gonna get it basically going, and we're gonna get it almost all the way threaded in this hole. Okay, so I hope you guys witnessed that. That's how we're gonna get it done. Push that thing, get it on there. And once it's on there, screw it in. I hate these screws. It's the worst screws to work with. Oh yeah, that's on there now. So it will look like this. The side with the basically chamfer on it, or yeah, no chamfer, not fillet, chamfer. That's gonna be facing the servo, and this side will be basically facing the motor, because that's the front. This is the where the rear is going to be of the truck. The next thing is a lot of people are probably asking, how are we not getting bump steer that's messing with the drivability of the car? And the answer to that is, we're not getting bump steer. Or actually, let me tell you what bump steer is. Bump steer is when suspension's traveling up and down, and you have obviously your tie rod attached. We'll treat this as my tie rod. The knuckle is gonna basically rotate in and out, creating what they call bump steer, because it's obviously fixed to this position. So I was able to get the ride height of the truck and adjust where the knuckle horn for the tie rod attaches. I was able to put it in a position to basically exploit and not get what I would call carryover, which is when you're turning your wheels and it's also lifting your truck up. It will happen if you have your servo trim up to 100%, but essentially I keep mine at 50 and I still get a 70 to 85 degree angle. If I turn my servo up to 50, 55%, it's way easier to drift, but I feel like I get a little lift out of the truck, maybe like 2 to 3 millimeters of lift out of the truck. It helps clear the bodies, which is cool. It also looks pretty sweet in a real car. Obviously, when you're throttling out of a corner, that hood is going to lift up, so it kind of resembles that. If you don't like that, the thing is going to function normally at 50% trim for your servo, and like I said, you're still going to get an 80-85 degree angle out of steering. And depending on what positions you use, you might not have that happen at all. So I'm going to show you this position right here is the one that you're going to use, the outside positions, and you're going to use this second hold down. That, in combination with the shocks and everything else that I've recommended, will get you to a ride height to where your bump steer, it will not even be noticeable, because obviously these tie rod ends have play in it. So let's get one in here instead of talking about it. How about that? I want to use 6mm screws, but I just don't have them. 5.5, they're gonna fall out. I mean, you can try to run it, but that's just not enough meat. And then 8's just too long. It sticks through. So it's like a lose-lose right now. We're gonna use 8mm screws. I missed it, and I'm out of sequence at this point, so I'm gonna cut this in. And then we're gonna attach the tie rods to the servo horn. 8 is fine. 6 is better. And you're gonna use an 8 here as well, or a 6. You can see we have some extra. If you want, over time, I guarantee you in a year, this is probably gonna be maxed out from going in and out and adjustments. So go ahead and get yourself some N1.4 nuts and put them on there, or just throw some glue on that. You don't have to worry about that though for a long time. And then when it comes to alignment, I'm gonna recommend that you guys take the all thread that I cut and you guys screw all the way in, which is gonna give you a great amount of toe, which is the wheels are not gonna be facing directly forward, they're gonna be facing out on both sides. It makes it easier to drift at first, and you'll have a lot of fun. And then as you want to get tighter into corners and you feel like you're getting the hang of it, go ahead and adjust to something more reasonable, which for me is right here right now. And when we look at this in millimeters, we're roughly 1.5. Yeah, 1.5. 1 3/4, 1.75, excuse me. So yeah, I would say between 1 and 2 millimeters roughly is gonna be a safe, nice feeling drift truck. Okay, so rear tray, is one of the last things that we're going to do. And then we're gonna get the body together. So these are gonna be 5mm screws. You can use 8s, but I included 5s for you guys. If you end up stripping these out, because they're just tiny holes like we do, follow the same repair protocol. Just put some glue in there, let it sit. With the screw in the hole, and then take the screw out and put a little bit more glue in to basically glue in the threads that you just glued in. And that's the way we do it. All right. And essentially that's the drift kit right there. The only thing that we're missing is a sweet body to go on it. So I'm pretty happy with the way this turned out. I think it's gonna look sweet, like a SEMA truck. Real done up nice, no paint on that, just print. So I'm gonna put the truck to the side right now, and we're gonna worry about the body, and then we'll get suspension on this. We'll tighten everything up, put accessories on, Velcro, magnets, adhesive, and we'll start to throw down. Body is super easy. I put the holes, the mounting holes, really high up and also really low. And then I also put them at an angle depending on what truck you get. So one side of the body will not have threads and the other side will. So I believe on this one that the screws are gonna be going in from the bedside on the Classic and then essentially mounting to this ridge that has threads. More than welcome to just glue those down, hot glue them, does not matter. And you can use 5mm screws or 8s. I think I gave you guys 8s. I think I gave you guys 10s too. So extra secure. But 8 is the perfect distance to go through this and also not stick out. There we go. A little force applied to it. Not too much though. You can use the second hole right here if you guys can see it, or you can use this one. I prefer to use this one. Nice. Nice. So that's the body. A couple warnings. The hood is thin. I didn't really notice it, and I don't think it's gonna be a problem, but the hood feels super thin. So I'm gonna thicken it up moving forward. I braced the walls. I added these in, and then I tried to mimic a roll cage, but kind of gave up. So you're gonna get a little bit of a roll cage in the Classic. Same thing right here. I do my best to cut this part of the roll cage off for you guys because it is going to hit. We can leave it for now just to see if it doesn't, but I know for a fact that one that does have to come off is this one. I don't know if you guys can see it. This bar right here. This one has to come off because it's gonna hit your servo and essentially not allow you to have the body sit where you want. Basically just cut both ends of it and then pry it out. It didn't take too much force for me to do that. So don't sit there and freaking break your body if it takes more than a little bit of force. So that's the body and the kit at this point. The only thing that we need to do is put the accessories on. And wheels and tires and shocks. So we're also gonna mount the electronics, which is super easy using that 3M adhesive that I gave you. And we're gonna start to shred. So shocks. I want to try these low-C ones, and I'm going to. They're pretty cool. A little bit shorter because I don't need all that travel. And I put the black spring from these spring, and I took it out of these. These are the smaller ones. And I don't think it matters whether you get big or small. If you are using the 39mm SCX24 shocks, that's fine. Use the heavy duty spring. Same thing, helper spring in there if you can't see it. And then on the front, you're probably gonna want to basically thread this all the way down to make it give you as much play as possible, or as much resistance as possible. And that's why I like these low-C ones, because they already have a lot more resistance than these, and they're smaller. They look more scaled to the truck. So I'm gonna try it. These ones, you wanna put on the front, you wanna use this ball end on the bottom side of the shock, and this one on the top for the front. On the back, we're going to do the extended ones for both. Or you can just use the spacer like I did. So you can use the extended on the top and the normal one with the spacer, or you can just use two extended. Doesn't matter, it's gonna be the same. We're just trying to avoid the shock spring from hitting on the frame. If you are going to use the Injora 39mm shocks, I had my truck set up shock mount here, shock mount here. Third one over from the knuckle. 1, 2, 3. Start there and go from there. I run the Classic, so that's my setup for the Classic. The Roadrunner, you're gonna probably wanna make some adjustments to get it sit lower, because that thing is low. On the Icon, that's a taller truck, so we're gonna probably basically get the shock hole probably over here to make it tuck up into the wheel wells. Get more camber at the top of the travel, so it'll tuck better. This hardware comes from Injora, so I'm not providing this. You guys get your own stuff. I put enough hardware in there though to basically support that, but it's not for it. And these are some long screws too. So one thing I recommend doing is taking this off and then mounting the shocks, because the frame rails, it's a tight fit, really tight fit. I think it even connects at one point in the travel of the suspension, but nothing crazy. Just a little kiss, Mike Tyson. Nice. And then I'm gonna do the same thing as I did. I'm gonna go 3 over. And remember that these thread in parallel. So you're not going in straight in like this. You're gonna follow the guide of the control arm in screwing it in. So I'm gonna show you by example. I'm gonna lead by example here. And I'm gonna mount to hole number 3. And notice how I'm parallel with the surface that I'm screwing into. I'm not parallel with the control arm itself. That would be more at an angle this way. I'm parallel with the flat surface that the shock goes into. And then I'm just gonna hit it. Cool. Biggest thing here is that we get travel without binding. And I actually get really good travel out of this. So it's not, what you're hearing is just the shock itself, that spring inside hitting, but we should be okay. rear shocks, or rear shocks. For 39mm oil-filled shocks, start with the second top hole. And remember, it's not going to look right. It's going to look tall. But when you go to put the body on, that's when we correct how that looks. There we go. That was the move that needed to happen. It could have went either way, to the bottom or the top. I just decided to do the top so I didn't have to take the tire off. But if you're all about that look, do it on the bottom. Oh no, it feels good. It's tight. Ooh, that's real good. That's like, wow. I'm impressed right now. Wow, look at that. Look at that. I want 20 more of these ones too, because this is legit. It's too legit to quit. Okay, so we're almost to the finish line. And when I say finish line, really all that we need to do is cut your sticky adhesive. I'm not about wasting mine. And I personally made that on and off switch to go right there. You can flip it the other way. It's just kind of annoying to turn your truck on and off. Keynote, something I missed. The gyro has to be essentially fixed in place. If the gyro isn't fixed in place, you will not be able to drift, and your truck's gonna probably be freaking out. Mini Mayhem posted a video with the micro runners where his gyro wasn't secured and he was having a hard time driving it. So I recommend making sure that if you're having a hard time driving, that your gyro is fixed in place and securely fixed in place like that. That's good. Cool magnets. So this is the classic. On the classic, just throw down 10mm magnets. I made these open like this because we all know when you're short for magnets and you're not drifting, you want to just be able to rip these off really quick. So you can still throw some glue down, but you do have the option to be able to pull it off later, unlike some other kits where it's basically stuck in there for life. It's gone, unless you drill through the bottom of it, but we're not going to do that. So I'm not going to glue right now. I don't think there's any need. There's a good press fit to that. Same thing with these. I'm not going to glue these right now. Good press fit in there. With that being said, on the classic, which is the truck that I like the most, the first one, the original, the one I'm doing right now, you're going to put those thicker magnets in, and then we're going to use these thinner ones to essentially shim it out. And when I say shim it out, you see how there's an impression right there? Now there's not. Shimmed on both sides. It's a little tight, but better tight than not. So those are the body mounts. Feel free to put some glue, like I said, in all locations. You also get a little Velcro strap. I like to just feed it up through here and then feed it up through here. And basically that's where I'm gonna put my battery when it's time to shine. Started putting this thing together and realized I wasn't recording. So axle stub now through, hex on with the pin. Gonna grab front tire. Front tire is the one that has, basically it's just a big sphere. It's got a big angle to it. Put that on. Hold the, what you can do is turn this like this. Make sure you have enough space. And then hold the back of the axle stud with your thumb, or your finger, your index finger, excuse me, and put the tire on. These nuts that I have right here will not just go on, so I have to put them on by hand first. So one wheel on, make sure it can rotate like that. Good amount of travel. And we're gonna get more into that once we put the other wheel on too. So, and then it's just too tight. So holding it, take it back. That's good. So what we're looking for with the front tires in terms of how tight those nuts can be is with very little pressure on the front wheels, it should be able to roll. And if you notice, it's not. So that means too tight on both ends. But we can't loosen it to the point where we have a bunch of wheel wobble. So really, very little weight on it, just basically nose weight, and we want a good amount of spin. So I'm just gonna take these, I'm gonna tighten them basically all the way down and then back it off, and that usually does a good trick. And then there's not too much play after. So try that. If you just can't get it done, just tighten it down. Not super tight, basically as tight as it will go without the force, and then just back it off. And then it should be able to rotate and back it off until it can rotate freely. And that looks good. And now with a little force, we get the movement. And that's gonna be key here. If you're not getting that roll on the front, we got problems. So you're gonna have to break it in. It's gonna take a second to break it in, but it should be good after that. One thing to note is you're gonna wanna put a drop of glue on both of the wheel nuts right there. I'll do that with you guys. So if you don't do this, there is a 100% chance, just a matter of when, these things are gonna come off. So excuse my nasty glue bottle, it's getting to the end of its life. Usually I lose them. Just a drop. I don't know if you guys can see the bubble that I just put basically on top. Blow on it. Let it dry. And then basically that's gonna hold that in place. And then you can take the tire on and off a couple times before you really need to put more glue on that thing. So again, just a tiny bubble right there. You can see it. It's basically flush with it. And then blow, dry, make it dry. Okay, while that dries, I'm gonna put the back tires on. And the back tires, you don't need to do that. Just normal deal for the back. Perfect. That is the kit. Yeah, I like these low C shocks. Way less travel. You don't really need all the travel. That's the thing. So we want to get this body to fit now. So what I like to do is tuck this in there and tuck this in here. Looks clean. You can also do the same thing with this, but I personally like to go through the shock and then I just rest it basically right down here. And you'll never notice it. So first things first, when it comes to mounting the body, we are gonna keep the front end screws, set screws loose, these 2 screws on the side. And what I would do is just put the truck like this, and you can get a good idea of the adjustment that needs to happen. So I see that just the front end needs to come out. Basically, oh, of course, too much. So that looks good. It's close enough. But before we do that, once again, I just want to reiterate, you can remove these. Be careful when you remove them. Don't do too much. Don't be prying them out. I would cut in the middle. I would make a cut right here, and then make a cut right here, and take out in sections. Don't pry it out. You could potentially break this right here with the force that you're putting on it. So it's pretty thick, pretty strong. No body's breaking yet. I would say the thinnest part is the hood. You can press on it, but everything else is basically enforced. I just didn't have the space to clearance, so I couldn't really enforce it, unfortunately. So but I'm gonna drop it on, and honestly, that looks so freaking sweet. Look at that. Looks so freaking sweet. That's awesome. And then when we put the body magnet on, we're just gonna go like that, and essentially make sure, the only thing that we want to make sure is that the suspension, when it travels all the way down, that's when you're clapped. So what I would do is put basically the magnet, glue it into the body right there. And how I usually get this done is I'll take the magnet, because I've already got my shim magnets on, but now these are the magnets that are going to get glued to the body. And I'm using the thick boys. The 3mm ones. Not the skinny ones, I'm using the thick ones. So I'm just going to do a little dry run, no glue. Put this on here. Make sure that wheel well is good in the front. And the biggest thing with the wheel well in the front is you want a little bit more space from the front to the back, or from the front right here. You want a little bit more space than you do in the rear, because it needs that to sweep the turn. The way you can do this and never go wrong is basically if you get the rear wheels centered in the wheel well, everything else can be adjusted and worked out. So I would just focus on that. I would push this down, get it all bottomed out, and then basically that's where we're mounting it. So it's actually with little to no glue right now. It was just holding there like that, but we're gonna go ahead and put glue on. And that's how we want it to sit, a little stink bug. So all I like to do is drop a glue in there. Not too much, so it doesn't take a lot to dry. And then check my magnet in. So once that's in there, dried, wait a second. We'll get this one. This one was pretty good. So that's in there. And then I'm gonna put a shim magnet on there, because this is the classic. Mentioned before, Roadrunner does not get a shim magnet. The Icon will get double 3mm instead of a small shim. It's just you're gonna put one of those on there. In addition to the shim, excuse me. So you're gonna put one of these on there and one of these. Put glue right here, just enough. And I'll put glue right here, just enough. I'm gonna grab the body, and as quickly as possible, because the stuff dries quickly, basically you just wanna line the tires up in the rear, so it's gonna, basically as soon as you smush it down, It's where you want it to be. And that's it right there. So, and then I'm gonna pinch the sides when I got that in there. Hopefully you guys, it's hard to see it at this angle, but make sure you're at the same height on both sides. And then make sure, obviously, that when you compress all the way down, you hit at the bottom of the travel like I did. Perfect. Okay. So this ends up being how it looks. Magnets are basically right on that line for both sides, and then even on both sides. The last part of this is the same thing, but you're gonna do the magnets on the top or the front. With that being said, the front magnets is the same process. I'm gonna use these skinnier ones, and basically what I'm gonna do is just go like this, and then I'm gonna take this, plug it in, and then push down, of course. Make sure it's all the way in and push down. And the same thing right here. Make sure it's in and push down. And we're just going to place it on top of that, just like so. And then we can tear it. And like I said, we're going to basically put that on and then make sure it's center and bring it down on the front end. Alright. Probably a bad angle for you guys, but now that we're all pretty much said and done, that's how it's going to sit. And then as you're drifting, basically what's going to happen is you're going to be doing a wheelie like this. So if you don't like that, just lift your back up here. So raise your magnets up a little bit to where obviously it's gonna, when you hit the gas, it goes down like that. I personally like it to sit like this, especially when you put a battery in there. It doesn't lift up as much. It's just gonna basically kind of go like, you know, it's gonna look like a truck with a lot of horsepower. I'll tell you that. All right, guys. Once again, I really appreciate you guys being so interested in this. Definitely something that got me sparked up for SCX24s again. I think where I'll leave you guys is just make sure you tighten your set screws in there. Make sure you mount the body as even as possible. Don't go too hard on your screws and on your alignment. Just set it up the way that I did, with some camber, with some toe, and you're gonna be sliding around. I'm gonna have to make a bed cover, but that's it. We get the drift kit. Very proud of this creation. I'm very thankful that I was able to make it happen. My wife was super patient with me and let me spend a lot of time doing this over the last couple months. So I hope you guys enjoy this as much as I have. Please comment if there's anything that you think I can do better or more or change. I'm a really open-minded person and always up for positive and negative feedback. So throw your best shot. Thanks guys for watching. Please get one and try not to smile. I dare you. Love you guys. Thanks.